I thought it was a very productive meeting, and after pitching the idea of the survey of 150,000 Australian students, Prime Minister Scott Morris said it was a very good idea, which I think is very promising, and committed to further communications about the topic and other recommendations going forward with him and his advisors.
You seem to be very encouraged. Were you expecting him to not say it was a good idea, or that it just wasn't the right time? I mean, did he actually give you any concrete indicators that he might assist with this or go ahead with it?
Well, I mean, there's lots of bureaucracy behind getting government funding and that sort of thing, and obviously there'll be extensive ethics reviews that will need to be undertaken in order to survey children on sensitive topics such as this, and understanding of issues of consent and respect and relationships. But it was quite promising, and also I think he knew I was coming into that meeting with that ask, and he still agreed to have it. So I think that's a good sign.
And he agreed, and he kept his meeting with you on the day that Russia invaded Ukraine. So that was indeed a busy day. Can you tell us about the survey, how you think it should be framed and what you want it to achieve?
So obviously it's in very high level ideas development phase at the moment, and it is just an idea at the moment, but I believe we need to start measuring where Australia is at right now, since we've had a generation of Australians that don't yet have consent education unless their school has started to implement it, figure out what schools are doing it, which schools are doing it well, and then start measuring attitudes, beliefs, and experiences of young Australians, because there appears to kind of be a gap in research where we have good understanding and statistics for children, as in kind of under 11, under 12, survivors of sexual assault. And then most other statistics of sexual assault start from 15 onwards. And we're missing this massive grey area where so many people are not only victims of sexual assault for the first time, but perpetrate sexual assault for the first time.
Jane, do you think it's significant that the Prime Minister was receptive to this idea?
Yes, I mean, I'm glad that he was. There's a little tiny part of me that thinks he's receptive to this idea right now because he's got an election coming, we assume, in May, and he knows that there has been a lot of agitation amongst women in Australia about perhaps the Prime Minister and his government's seeming inability to get what women are asking for and what they are going through and what they fear. And so seeing Chanel and doing this is great. I mean, it's a tiny bit of cynicism. Whatever the motivation, it's really good that it's happening. And that's what the women were trying to get, by marching, by demanding action. All those women, tens of thousands of them this time last year. That's great. The pressure worked. And he has actually realised that we mean business. It's good.
Can I ask you about the idea of, Jenna Price wrote a piece in the Sydney Morning Herald today where she was talking about the significance of the female voting bloc in the lead up to the election. Now, we do know for some time that women used to vote Conservative, have been trending away from that for quite some time.
Long time, yeah.
Her argument was that, that now they're going away from the major parties to much more to independence. Do you think that's right?
It looks that way, doesn't it? When you look at the Voices of movement, they are predominantly, in fact, I think they're almost exclusively female candidates. And one of the big issues, apart from climate change, that seems to unite all of them is women's rights, women's opportunities. And I remember there was some research that came out last week, I think, which was looking at what was driving, who were the groups in society that were driving the Voices of movement. And it turned out that one of the major groups, wasn't the only one, but one of the major groups was professional women, which I think means working women. And it made me sit back and think, goodness, I've been a working woman, paid work, all women work, but paid working woman, since the late 70s. And then I thought, yes, no government's ever done a damn thing for me. They've never really talked to us at all about the difficulties we face. We've got the fourth most expensive childcare in the world. There are tax still impediments to women actually fully working, and yet I've been banging on about this for ages, these very limitations are what lead us to have older women at very real risk of terrible poverty as they age. So it's a whole of life thing. So yes, I think this is very much about women. It's partly to do with Me Too. It's to do with this young generation that seem to have got the scales off their eyes a lot earlier than we were ever able to, and are standing up and demanding in a way I've never seen before that women and women's rights, opportunities and safety be taken seriously.